Hey everyone, Melissa here, and super excited to be back with you today. So I am creating my first layout with the gorgeous new collection called Daydream, and I absolutely adore it. Have to be honest, I have looked at it several times and almost not wanted to use it. You know how we have those hoarding tendencies, but you know what? Zoe has created it to be used, and so use it we must. So I just wanted to show you what I'm working with today, or what I intend to work with. I've got the die cut titles, and I'm quite determined to make my title from these beautiful words. I've got the die cut ephemera, which is absolutely beautiful. I'm probably going to say beautiful and gorgeous a lot, so I apologise for that in advance. I've got the accessory stickers. I have got this beautiful paper, I think it's called All a Flutter, and so I'm intending to use both sides of this. And this is what I'm intending to do. So I fussy cut apart the wreath. I think the wreath would have looked something like this, but I love to deconstruct wreaths, and so this was definitely an exercise in fussy cutting. It took me several nights to do it, and I used these little close to my heart scissors and my craft knife, which I cannot see, but anyway, the way that I was able to cut so close to the actual foliage was to use my craft knife. So I would think most of this I've trimmed out around the edge with scissors, and then where you see the gaps, I've gone in with my craft knife. And yeah, it was really time consuming and fiddly, and I was, worried I was going to tear it, especially really close here where it's very thin on the stems, but I just think it's so worth it, and it's turned out so beautiful, and I'm really, really happy with how it's turned out. Yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I did was I wanted to colour in these leaves that I've cut on my Silhouette Cameo. They are a set from Neat and Crafty Cuts, and I've sized them, I think, in 3 different sizes. I made them way too large, the largest ones, and so I'm just colouring the smaller ones with a couple of colours of green just from my watercolours, and I wanted to have tones of green that were going to work with the green in the collection on the leaves. So I also wanted to fussy cut a couple of these moths and one of the butterflies. What happened there was I cut my finger. I've kind of cut some of this out, but there wasn't blood everywhere or anything, but it did hurt, and I had to go and put a plaster on it. And like with most cuts, you don't notice that they hurt when you first do it, but then later on you do. So that's why I've got a plaster. And at the time of making this, I felt really awkward. Once I had that plaster on, I felt quite clumsy as I was making this, but watching this process, I can see that it doesn't look that way. But yeah, that's how I felt. So now I'm wanting to add some mixed media, and I'm not wanting it to get out of control. I find with the packaging technique that it is a bit random and it could quite easily go everywhere. So I'm using the centre of the wreath. Obviously I've fussy cut out around. I'm just using that centre as a template in the middle of my page to stop the mixed media going into that part of the layout. So I'm using some Lindy's Gang Magicals, and they're powders that are activated with water, and they have a shimmer to them. Now at that point I was going to use that packaging, but I thought that's, it's quite big, it's just going to go everywhere. So I used one of my little acrylic stamp blocks and sort of dabbed it on until most of the water was gone, and then used that packaging. So you can see there I don't have enough of pink on the top, so I'm just making a little bit more. And I love that you can make it up yourself to whatever saturation you want. So there's another way I've done it. I've folded that packaging, and which reduces the surface area and hopefully gives me a little bit of control. I mean, packaging technique is never going to be perfect. The only perfect way to do this would be to use a brush, but I don't want it to look that perfect. So it's like out of control but also contained. And I'm doing the same with the blue, and I'm just pulling a couple of the colours from the wreath that I've cut. So it's looking like a bit of a hot mess, I have to admit. I didn't use gesso on my background. I wish I had. It probably would have reduced the warping that I got once this dried, but anyway, it was done. And I think things always look like a hot mess until you cover them up. So here I am splattering with some of the gold powder, and I made this quite saturated because I wanted a few splatters, not too many, and the ones that I did, I wanted them to be quite defined. So you can see a little bit of shimmer there, and it looks completely fine once I put those pieces of the wreath back on top. So just making sure it's going to work with my photo. This is a photo of Ava from, I think, January this year. I look at this photo and I just think it's absolutely crazy how much the world has changed in the last few months. I may have said this before in one of my Cocoa Vanilla layouts, or my videos, but I feel like it was March and then we blinked and it was June. But anyway, this is looking back to probably simple times when we didn't know what was coming. We didn't even think about what was coming, and we just enjoyed our summer. So using a couple of those papers, that daisy one is the B-side of the wreath, and the other one is the B-side, or the other side of the moth and butterfly paper. So I've distressed my edges, and I just have a small piece or a small peek of each of those patterns. It's just something to just give my photo a matte, so it's not going to get lost in that black and white background. So here I am switching up my glues because I'm running out of the other one, and so I need to order some more, but I want to make sure I use this Nuvo one as well. Normally I'd put craft foam behind my photo. I don't think I did because I want to pop up everything else. So the point of cutting these leaves is just to bulk up the wreath cut file and add to it. And I guess I don't always like using things exactly as they are. I have to alter them in some way. So this just adds a bit of interest, a bit of movement, because I hadn't gessoed that white cardstock. And when I applied the watercolours, it's made the leaves curl up a bit, but that's totally fine. I like that look, and it means that I don't have to do too much work when it comes to dimension. So just working out where I want to place those leaves and wanting to just add to the wreath, but then not overtake it as well. So it's really quite a subtle feature just to help, I guess, draw the eye to the wreath. So I'm using some dimensional adhesive there, not overthinking it, just popping it along both sides. And I've also curled up the flowers, especially those central flowers, with my fingers just to give a bit more dimension. So I absolutely love dimension on my pages, and I love the shadow effect, and I think yeah, it just adds so much, and it's definitely worth the time. So I've also bent some of those leaves in half where I'm able to, and that also adds to the dimension. So you can see me there just doing that. Now I do have to explain the state of my arms and my hands. It looks terrible. It looks like fingerprint bruises, which it is. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's quite physical. It's a contact sport. But depending on what technique we've been working on, my hands and legs can look like that. So don't worry about me. I'm perfectly fine. I've put myself in that situation, and yeah, it just goes with the sport. So it only looks like that for a couple of days, and then it's gone again, unless I do the same technique again. So I'm just very aware that in watching this video, it looks absolutely terrible on my wrists and on my hands. Maybe I should scrapbook a layout about that, not about the bruising, but about my sport one day, so you can see what I mean. I might do that. I might do that next month. We'll see how we go. So doing a combination of liquid adhesive at the bases of the leaves and then little dimensionals to pop up the leaves. If you use dimensionals like these, don't throw out the edges. You can cut them up and use them. So I use absolutely everything, every little scrap of dimensional adhesive, so I don't waste money, and I just feel good using them. And you can cut them smaller or thinner, especially when it comes to leaves. So I probably could have cut some of this out, but I thought you might want to see the whole process, and then it gives me a bit more time to chat to you as well. So another thing you can do is, if you end up with dimensional adhesive sort of visible, you can use your scissors and sort of push it back under so that you can't see it. So this collection is amazing. It's just honestly breathtaking. And I work from home, and I've had the collection sitting on the my trestle table behind my desk. My desk where I work is also where I film my videos, so I work from home and I can see the collection, I can see it staring at me, and I have to discipline myself to not play with it when I'm meant to be working. So yeah, I could put it away, but I like having new products out so I can see them, and then as I get inspired or I get ideas, then I can pull what I want. And so I've already got my next layout planned. I've got the bits and pieces in a pile all ready to go. I think we're almost finished with gluing all of this down, and then I'm wanting to make a title. I did think about making my title fully this title that you see here, Sweet Moments, because it was a sweet moment, and that's what I'm planning to do at this stage. I've got my moths and butterfly ready to go. I've got a sticker, it says "Oh Happy Day," a phrase sticker, and then a little heart sticker as well that I've popped up on dimensional adhesive. And then, oh my goodness, I just adore ephemera. I had to add a rainbow because the rainbows are just stunning. I think what I love most about this collection is the colours. I mean, of course I love flowers and rainbows and butterflies and moths, and I mean, I love it all. But the colours are just so beautiful. They just work for everything. I think you could scrap every season with this collection. So I'm now coming to adhering my moths, being aware that I've got quite a lot of dimension already with the wreath. But what I do with moths and butterflies is I will put my liquid adhesive in the centre, and then I will put little bits of dimension on their wings, and I'll press down the centre, which means the centre is stuck flat and then the wings are lifted. So they look like they're hovering on, or resting actually, on this partial wreath. So I've realised I love that ephemera piece that says happy, and I really love that the colours just help draw out the colours of the wreath and the colours of the rainbow and just bring everything towards the photo, which to me is always the most important part of, or most important feature of my layout. So more dimensional adhesive because I just can't get enough. And what I'm doing there is I'm watching YouTube, I think, as I make this, so that's why my hands keep going up to my keyboard. And I must say, I am really sorry that I didn't fussy cut any of the wreath on camera. Like I say, it took a very long time. There is another paper in the collection that has flowers, and I know for sure that I'll be fussy cutting that. So what I'll do with another layout that I make is I'll make sure I do some extreme fussy cutting with that and show you how I use my craft knife to cut out the more central bits that you can't get to with scissors. So when it came to my journaling, I had two options. I could put it here, or I could put it on the top left between the broken part of the wreath, but I decided to go with the bottom right, just to the right of the rainbow, I think, because it looked good there. I did think about putting one of those hearts somewhere, like in that gap that I talked about before, but in the end, I just love that little piece of white space, I guess, that the gap on the top left provides. Now this collection comes with a beautiful set of sequins, and there are some paper flowers as well. I'm going to save the paper flowers for something else, but I just sort of had the scattered look of sequins on and around my wreath. I didn't make you watch me put them all down because that would have been boring, but that's my layout. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm absolutely thrilled with it. I just think it's so pretty and it's so worth doing all that fussy cutting to get the effect. So yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys make with the collection, and take care.